And now it's about heterotrophic nutrition. For this type of nutrition, the energy is normally derived from the intake of and digestion of organic substances, normally plant or animal tissues. The breakdown products of digestion are used to synthesize the organic material required by the organism. This is mostly conducted or done by all organisms where they can't produce their own food. Therefore, they need the energy which derive from the intake and the digestion of organic substances. And the breakdown of product of digestion may use to synthesize other organic material required for them to perform other metabolism in their body system. For heterotroph organisms, they also feed on complex, ready-made organic food, which is used as source of energy and as a synthesizer for their own organic molecule. This include most of the animal, fungi, bacteria, and some protists. And under heterotrophic nutrition, there are three main types of nutrition. They can be further classified as holozoic, saprotrophic, and also symbiotic. Actually, for most heterotroph, they cannot absorb light energy. And it could be the reason why they cannot perform to synthesize their own food. However, there is a group of photoheterotrophic bacteria which can absorb light energy to synthesize their own organic molecule from other organic raw materials. And these special types of bacteria which are classified as a photoheterotrophic microorganism. Example, a purple non-sulfur bacteria called rhodospirillum, which uses an organic compound as a source of hydrogen to synthesize their own food. And the microscopic features of these bacteria of rhodospirillum are presented in this slide so that you can see the stain of these bacteria show they are purple and they can do photoheterotroph activity which they can absorb light to synthesize the organic molecule from other organic raw material to produce their own energy resources. And holozoic nutrition is one of the class under heterotrophic nutrition. Most animals, insectivorous plant, some protists, they obtain energy and nutrient through feeding on complex, solid organic food material. And usually they show the following characteristic, including ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and ejection. So, in order for us to classify any organisms under holozoic nutrition, they must possess the following characteristic. Besides, we know that they obtain energy and nutrient by feeding on complex and solid organic food material. The characteristics are they have to do ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, as well as egestion. Let's take a look at the characteristic of holozoid nutrition in detail. Let us begin with ingestion. So, ingestion is a process of taking in large, insoluble, complex food material consisting mostly organic polymer molecule. Digestion is a process of breaking down of large particles into smaller pieces. The pieces are then chemically digested by enzyme into small, simple, soluble molecule. Absorption, uptaking of digested food, and the small soluble molecule either diffuse or are transported by membrane protein carrier into the cells. Assimilation, any use of the absorbed molecule in the body, which includes releasing of energy to carry out metabolism or synthesizing cellular structures. And finally, egestion, elimination of undigested waste substances from the body. So let's recap. Ingestion is a process of taking in large, insoluble, complex food material. Digestion is a process of mechanically breaking down large particles into smaller pieces. Absorption is an uptaking of digested food after the process of mechanical breakdown. Assimilation is a process of use the absorbed molecule after the uptaking of digested food in the body, which include releasing of energy to carry out metabolism. And finally, egestion is a process of elimination of undigested waste, or it is basically to discard the waste substances from the body. And to our concerns, herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, they can be holozoids. Herbivores, they are holozoid heterotroph that feeds on plant. Carnivore, they feed on other animal. Meanwhile, omnivores, they feed on both plants and animal. This is so obvious, very clear-cut, simple information. The fact that we have learned all this even from the kindergarten level. And now we have come to further classification so that we know where exactly these type of organisms are placed into the living system. Beside herbivores, omnivores, and carnivores, there are also detritivores and insectivorous or carnivorous plant under holozoid nutrition. Detritivores, they specialize in feeding on decaying organic matter and digesting it internally. Example such as earthworm, centipedes, millipedes, and woodlice. Meanwhile, example of insectivorous or carnivorous plant where they normally carried out photosynthesis. In addition, they have modified leaf to trap insect. Extracellular digestion occurs and the soluble products, for example, amino acids, are absorbed and assimilated. These plants are thus able to grow in soil which normally low in nitrate because they can get sources of organic molecule by trapping the insect which fly over, or they can even trap any animal waste drop onto their surface, as what we can see in pitcher plant, sundew, and even Venus fly trap, where this type of plant are so special created, where they can do the photosynthesis, and at the same time they have a modified leaf to trap insect known to be a carnivorous plant in order to add in the compound or nutrient which was their habitat is normally low in nitrate. That's why by having the evolutions of trapping the insects or other animal waste into their leaf or the surface, so that they can produce organic molecule by having those kind of external resources. Saprotrophic is also part of the holozoid nutrition, where saprotroph are the organisms that feed on death and decaying organic matter. They have no chlorophyll and cannot synthesize their own organic molecules. In this case, enzymes such as amylase, protease, lipase are secreted externally onto their food or in the form of extracellular digestion. And the complex food such as starch, protein, and fat will be hydrolyzed into glucose, amino acid, fatty acid, and glycerol for absorption. There are a few types of organisms under saprotrophic nutrition, such as mucor, rhizophus, Saccharomyces, and mushroom. And we can see most of the organisms under saprotroph, they are under the group of fungus. And under holozoid nutrition as well, they are symbiotic nutrition. Symbiotic nutrition, where the symbiosis is a close or permanent association between two or more organisms of different species. A symbiotic relationship may or may not be beneficial to the symbiont. The three most common types of symbiotic nutrition can be known as parasitism, commensalism, and also mutualism. And some symbiotic relationships are obligatory, where one or both the organisms cannot survive without the others. We will see in specific example and type of how they carried out the life within symbiotic nutrition, especially in parasitism, commensalism, and mutualism in the next few slides. In parasitism organism, or we will call them a parasite, normally obtains their food from another living organism, or they call it host. The parasite will normally absorb the blood or the plant sap, the digested food, or even the tissue, and they may harm the host. However, many successful parasites are well adapted to the host, and at the same time they do not cause any harm to the host. This will enable them to have a larger number of hosts and to spread more widely. We can see the example of parasitism with the following pictures provided in this slide. For example, a very common to our daily life, which is mosquito, a small fish with another a bigger fish, where they just take any waste from the bigger fish after the fish has eaten something, and the waste on the teeth of the fish itself, they take it and they live together. And there's another worm with living with a caterpillar, and they use the caterpillar as a host to move or to mobile from one place to another. But they may harm the caterpillar, whereby at a certain level, at a certain stage, this caterpillar may be sucked off all of the intercellular fluid without any chance to turn into a butterfly. Example of parasites we can see, for instance, ectoparasites, where they live on the outer surface of a host. For example, fleas, ticks, leeches, which suck the blood of the animal host. Aphids obtain sap from their plant host. If you're aware, aphid, where we found it like a powder on the leaf surface, they actually aphids or insect which obtain or absorb or suck the sap from the plant host. They do it like a ticks on our head, sucking the blood, and it may cause harm to the host. The second class of parasitism, we have endoparasite. This is very obvious. Endo means live within. So this type of organism, they live within a host. For example, a tapeworm called Tania obtains the nourishment or the nutrient from the digested food in the human alimentary canal. Other than that, I think we can witness that endoparasite can also somehow related to hygiene, where the tapeworm can be absorbed into the alimentary canal directly if you barefoot stepping on the ground, a very dirty ground or soil, or up to the extent where the worm can even penetrate into the eyeball tissue, and many more examples. And in plant, we can see that the parasitism can also be shown, for example, in Phytophthora infestan, where this is a fungal parasite in potato plants which penetrate the whole cell and absorb nutrients from them. I gave you a few examples, including tomato, potato, and the leaf of the plant itself, where we can see the infections of the fungal parasites on the skin or the outer layer of the fruit, as well as the epidermis of the leaf. They normally give harm to the plant by absorbing all of the nutrient directly on the plant tissue, which may cause dying to the whole plant system. The second class under symbiosis, they are commensalism. Commensalism can be defined as a close association between two different living species where one organism, called commensal, derive the benefit or obtain the benefit from the association, but the other, or known as host, will be unaffected. In comparison to parasitism, in commensalism, one will benefit and the other one will get nothing. Meanwhile, in parasitism, one obtain most of the benefit and the other one will be harmed. Obvious example of commensalism also living surrounding us. You can see the epiphytic orchids and fern growing on the trunk and branches of trees, where this epiphytic orchid and fern, they get into a better space, a better reach to sunlight, because they grown on the trunk and branches of the tree. A remora fish attached to the underside of a shark, where they can mobile from one place to another place without harming the shark. They collect all the waste food from the shark and they give nothing back, or there's no harm to the shark. As well as we can see the birds and a buffalo. The birds may get the insects or the seed or any food by landing on the buffalo's body. Mobile from one place to another, but nothing harm on the buffalo. And in this case, barnacle, they filter the plankton into their bodies when the whales swim into plankton-rich waters to feed. They may also act as protection from predators, such as fish, seaworms, starfish, and snail, because they attach to a big and huge host. But somehow, the barnacles may also affect the host if there are too much or excessive numbers of barnacles on the surface of the fish. We can also see the examples of bad commensalism, I suppose, when we see barnacle attached to turtle, where at some point they may attach to the eyelid of the turtle. This is bad for the turtle since the barnacle is a hard and tough surface attaching to the eyelid, and it may cause difficulty in viewing. And up to a certain point, the accumulation or collections of barnacle on turtle, they may also restrict the swimming or the locomotion of turtle. Therefore, barnacle may also classify as parasitism, but it depends on what types of hosts that they attach to. And this is the last group or class under symbiosis, where we have mutualism. Mutualism can be defined or known as a close association between two different living species where both partners benefit, meaning both get the advantage. No one harm or give bad effect to another. For example, this is a common example we'll always associate with mutualism. The nitrogen-fixing bacteria called rhizobium in root of nodules of leguminous plant, they can convert the atmospheric nitrogen into nitrate, where in this case the bacteria or the rhizobium obtain food, space, and shelter from the host plant of leguminous. And at the same time, the plant will utilize nitrate in its metabolic pathway to synthesize protein. So one, they obtain a benefit in the form of food, space, and shelter. And another one, benefit and advantage in the form of getting the correct form of nutrient, which is nitrate, to conduct the metabolic activities in order to synthesize protein. This example is also close to our daily life, where we can find it across the big plant or even on the small plant surrounding us. Lichen is a close relationship between a fungus and algal cell. It is found on rocks or tree barks. The fungal hyphae will provide shade, structural support, absorb water and mineral from the surrounding for the algae cell. In return, the fungal hyphae will obtain sugar synthesized by the algae. So that lichen, when we see it on the surface or the epidermis of rocks or tree barks, it is actually a symbiosis or mutualism between fungus and algae. One will benefit to another in the form of providing shade, support, absorb water and mineral, and also obtaining sugar. What about termites? It may classify as parasitism when they inhabit in our house, where they may demolish, they may give harm to the house structure. However, in this case, we are talking about the termite and the protozoa. Termites will ingest woody tissue but cannot digest the cellulose. For this work was actually conducted by the protozoa, which live in the digestive tract of termites, secretes the enzyme to digest the cellulose. So they benefit one to another. Where termites, they will ingest wood, but the one that actually digests the wood is the protozoa, who live in the digestive tract of termite. And these protozoa, they secrete enzyme to ease them digest the woody tissue which was ingested by the termites. And this will be the final example I'm sharing with you under the class of mutualism, where we have a golden jellyfish or algae-like organism which live symbiotically in the jelly's tissue and provide their host with energy as a byproduct of photosynthesis. We know jellyfish, they are not photoautotroph. They are heterotroph types of organism. They cannot produce organic compound by their own. Therefore, in this case, they live very close to one another with the algae, whether these algae have a capability to produce food by photosynthesis, and they live within this jellyfish. The jellyfish will move from one place to another, up to the surface of the water, exposed into the sunlight, and they will also go down to the deeper surface after the sunset. Then it may help this algae-like organism to perform photosynthesis effectively, so that indirectly they get the compound, the carbon compound, as their food from these algae. Thank you very much, student, for your time to listen to this lecture. This is very straight to the point lecture, very simple and clear cut. I do hope this lecture will somehow helps you to understand the class of nutrition in organism in various aspects, including classification, mode of nutrition, and also example, which was somehow close to our living system. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera and good day. Thank you once again.